Test. Can you hear me? Okay, fine. Right. Thank you. Hello. Test. The audience, can you hear me all right? Do we? Yes. Okay. Thank you very much indeed. Okay. Okay. Now, just let me give some brief information about this workshop to you. Can you see my screen? No, I don't think so. Let me share the screen first. It's coming, right?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for our participants to get into the workshop today. I would like to recommend me and my team. My name is Bupatesha Pataraporn from NASDAQ. And with I'll be a facilitator for today. And let me introduce my team. First, Dr. Atikon Panya from Biotech NASDAQ. Kun Kunwara Nasi from Biotech NASDAQ. And Kun Sonkanok from NASDAQ. We are going to be here to facilitate this workshop. And before we move on to discuss about this workshop, let me introduce you. Let me give you some brief information. What is the focus of this meeting or of this workshop today? So this workshop will focus on the role of alternative proteins, hope it to transform food system to be more sustainable and at the same time to balance the three dimensions, which is economy, social, and environment. And the second issues of the focus today is how to unlock the development of alternative protein to achieve healthy diets. And at the other thing is to achieve a sustainable food system. And the third issues of this focus is what are the recommendations for developing sub-regional or regional cooperative approaches? In other words, how can we develop a regional or sub-regional cooperation on development of sustainable alternative proteins? The next slide, please. And our objective for today, I hope that we will develop a regional sustainable alternative proteins value chain, like from upstream, midstream, downstream, and then to the consumption. And the other objective is just to foster development of regional collaboration platform or the program for the sustainable alternative protein. We expect that after we discuss this, after we throw all our opinions, we will get some key messages or maybe policy recommendations for the development of alternative protein at the regional or sub-regional level, particularly in APEC, because this will be after this workshop, we will get some report summarizing and submit this report to APEC Policy Partnership on Science, Technology, and Innovation. So to achieve this workshop, I would like to introduce 3 questions that we have to help each other. Okay, that's something wrong. Okay, sorry. Can you hear us now? Okay, I'm very sorry for these technical problems. Hope the problem will be solved very soon. Let me share the content again. Okay, can you see that? Okay. Now, as after I just where I was before we left for the technical problems, I think we talk about the objective of this workshop. Let me put it into the big screen. Okay. So we hope that objective of this workshop is just to develop regional sustainable alternative proteins values. ของพี่เป็น full แล้วเนาะ ไม่ใช่ right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let me remind you of the objective of this workshop. We just would like to develop a regional sustainable alternative proteins value chain, upstream, midstream, downstream, and consumption. And the other objective is just to foster or to encourage any development of a regional collaboration platform for sustainable alternative proteins development. And we expect that we get some key messages or some policy recommendations on the development of alternative protein at regional or sub-regional level. And after this, we will write some report summarizing the workshop and submit it to the APEC Policy Partnership on Science, Technology, and Innovation. So we will start our workshop or our discussion, the chair of any view on from now on. There will be 3 questions, and 3 questions will work connecting to each other. The first question we will ask, how might we co-create sustainable alternative proteins for Asia Pacific countries? And after we get some more opinions or some more views from this discussion, we will move on the second question, which is what works, what doesn't work. So all the information will come from the first question that we discussed on how much we. After we get some information from this second question, what works, what doesn't work, we will move on to our last question, which is what is the most important issues or the opinion that is likely to happen. So we will draw some information from the second question to discuss on this third question. So I would like to ask the audience, any questions from the audience? Do you understand how we are going to do this workshop? Please give me some more information or some more feedback. Or if you have some question, please ask me. We are very glad to answer any of questions. So it's silent. You to answer all these questions, you either raise your hands or you can write into the box. Our facilitators will record all of your writing or of your opinion. And if you just speak, we will just type it. Okay. Any questions from the floor? So I'm very great. Clear. Everything is clear. So can we start discussion now? Just give me some reaction. Either you just give me an applause, give me a like. I will be very, very great. I mean, I appreciate. Okay. Thank you very much. So now I would like to start for our first question. How might we co-create sustainable alternative proteins for Asia Pacific countries? Who would like to start discuss on this topic? Sorry, I don't hear anything. How might we? Sorry. Let me start from this. how might we co-create? How might we co-create sustainable alternative proteins? Maybe it's going to be me to give you some more example, and maybe I would like to invite Dr. Visuwat. Are you here in this group, Dr.
I
Visuwat?
am.
Yeah, I think you will be the first. You will be the to be the first person to give us some more about this. Because when you talk about your company, I see a lot of sustainable alternative proteins. Yeah.
First of all, can I ask if other participants, if you can turn on your camera, so we'll talk like,
Yeah.
you know, like we're in the same room and there's no more like formal, you know, discussion. I think
Yes,
this is
please.
such a great opportunity. And do we have to speak in English or is Thai okay? Do we have?
I think if you would like to speak in Thai, that will be okay. And I would like to let me see. There are some international participants.
Okay.
So it's better to speak in English if you can. But if you would like to write it in Thai, that's fine.
Right. So just removing some barriers so people are more willing to talk.
Thank you.
So I think that I started putting some points in earlier about how I think it always starts with why, right? Like
Yeah.
if we want to make or to co-create this ecosystem of supporting the alternative proteins and whatnot, we have to start with why. Why would people want to do this? And then it goes back to well, if we produce it, then who will buy it? So it's always not just the companies or the facilities or the number of products. We have to start with the customers always. And food is such a product that you cannot just produce and store. Things have to be taken off the shelf almost right away. Number one, I think the question is, are we ready for this? And in my opinion, like I said before, we are such a region with so much richness and food is so plentiful in our region that unless people really are invested or are really concerned about the environment, it's not easy. I think it's not easy to have the plant-based movement growing super big, especially for me myself. This is personal opinion. um, I think Asia had just come out of basically of the time period when we feel like, oh, finally we get to eat some really good meat. I see this trend that in China, in many other countries, even in Thailand, we are now for the first time being exposed to some really good high quality meat, beef. So we see a lot of movement going in that direction. New butcher shops, specialty beef, like dry aged, whatnot, coming in from Brazil, Argentina, Australia, US, Japan. People know more about like Wagyu beef than they would know about the alternative proteins. So we have to really come back and ask about why, or before we ask how. Why would people want to do this? So when we're just experiencing some good, high quality beef, and I think the key opinion leaders in the food industry right now are not really invested in this yet. So I think compared to when I just came back from Europe, so compared to Europe, first of all, their food is a bit boring already to begin with. It's always like cheese and bread and a little bit of potatoes and and meat, they eat the same things over and over. So they're actually, and they're very concerned already about environment because, you know, they have seen firsthand about the shortage of resources, which is something that we have yet to experience in this region. So I think the number one question is, how might we actually gain more momentum in this country? Because unless we get the customers begging to buy more products, it's more of a product push process, and that's not an easy thing for companies. That's why even for our company, and I'm willing to share this honestly, we have to put the superfood like nutrition label on it and maybe like basically tag along with the health benefits claim to this product, Woofia. If we're just selling it as a new source of alternative protein or just pitching every time I pitch with a sustainability angle, people from outside the country will really want to, you know, they get excited, they want to invest. Whereas when we're talking about more people within the country or in this region, they're more excited about the health benefits of it. So that's my take is number one, we have to ask first, how do we create more momentum, make people more aware, and maybe the health angle of turning vegetarian or vegan could be one way of getting people at least to try to live this lifestyle. Although, I mean, I do agree that it is gaining momentum. We're seeing more varieties. We are seeing more good-looking menus in restaurants, because I think you experience it from restaurants first, and then maybe you would want to cook that at home. And the trend right now also is to eat out, to buy more ready-to-eat products rather than starting from fresh products. So I think we are doing a lot of things right with Avatar Meat Company and many other alternative meat companies being very successful at putting Asian flair, like more spicy, like lab and, you know, mu grob and everything. Those things that people are really used to, I think that we are coming along very well. And if you've never tested it, it actually tastes pretty good, even for meat eaters. So I think a lot of people can be sort of encouraged to try, and then if it's not so bad, hey, maybe do it once a week. I think this trend have been established in the West before, that, you know, just try it one meal a week, do it sometimes, no, not too much pressure, because too much pressure to completely turn vegan often will turn people off. So I think those approaches can work in terms, first of all, how do we initiate people to be interested and to try? Because the more people try, the more trend there is, you know, the more key opinion leaders we can get to join in this movement. I think that will start the ball rolling. Anyone else would want to, or maybe we can share opinions on what we do here. I mean, I personally still only do, you know, plant-based meals sometimes, even though I really very much try to promote it. And also, I think another thing that is especially hard for Asian countries or this region is we share our meals.
Uh-huh.
And it's hard for me, like we have a big family at home and we have to cook for my kids, and, you know, we have a grandparents at home too. So if they don't eat that kind of food and we have to only, you know, eat plant-based food, then it means we have to cook separate meals. This is different from the West when people don't really share food.
Yeah.
So they have their own meal, it's okay, you know. Or here, eating is a socializing activity as well. We eat mukata, we go, you know, have meals together. And if your friends are not on plant-based diets and you are, then again, if you are completely 100% vegan, it's extremely difficult to sort of just, you know, coerce your friends to come and go to a vegan restaurant. So I think that's another aspect that maybe it would make more sense to have some plant-based meals in a regular place rather than, having to go to a completely like plant-based or vegan restaurants. So that's another angle to how do we get people to even try this. There are some challenges out there. I'm seeing more of modernized markets. I think we're having a lot of people who do these really well now. It's more of a lifestyle, people look good, look healthy, more green. I think we are going that way. It's just not fast enough. And the COVID thing sort of threw sustainability out the windows somewhat. We're using more plastic again, the single-use things we're afraid of, just just sharing or that kind of thing. So even going to the market is more difficult. So finding ingredients that are more novel or plant-based friendly is much, much harder in the post-COVID time, I think, although people are coming out again, but
Thank you very much indeed. I can see and understand what Dr. Fu said about this. So first, it's just like, if I said this is not a right time, no, not the right time that people, not just really a right time, but just it's the time that people still enjoy that traditional meat because of a lot of nice nice meat and that we get used to, and that's why the new source of protein that would like to penetrate the market, they are quite difficult because people don't really care because we still enjoy this one. Why do we have to buy new things? Because we can get both the how to say, the happiness of having this meat, this beef, this wagyu. So why do we have to try these wolfear or maybe some other things as a source of protein? This is what Dr. Fu said, right? So I just wondering if we give some more knowledge or awareness to people that you can that there are new source of protein. If people know more about it, they will have a intention to try more, to just try it, don't you think? To give more awareness, more information, more knowledge, is that will help people going for more alternative proteins. Don't you think? Or maybe not. I have one question for Dr. Fu. When you talk about these pain points in alternative proteins penetration market in Thailand, is this only in Thailand? Do you have this problem in other ASEAN country?
I mean, I can only guess because I haven't been traveling very much, just like everyone else recently. But I am assuming. I mean, for sure, in Europe the trend is strong, and in the US the trend is stronger. So again, I think in Asia is going to be not easy, and Asia is a huge market. Especially, I mean, except in India that everybody knows there are a lot of vegan there already. So I think that the trend here isn't big yet. But we certainly to answer your earlier question, I think it's to give information we can do, but we are also faced with the era when information is so short-lived. Anything that's on Twitter, or TikTok will disappear in 30 seconds. So and people are just in the time that information is overloading already. So we really have to be somewhat, designing this and getting people to try, and maybe it has to be somewhat a concerted, coordinated action. Like we have to see it from this restaurant and that restaurant, and those chains that they already used to, make it extremely easy to get to. Not that they have to personally go and walk in the supermarket and dig in the frozen, section to find a new thing. They're not going to do that. It has to be so readily available, and it has to fit with their lifestyle. I think maybe we have to come back and look at what people are actually consuming right now first, I think. And I don't know if we have that kind of information, but all I know is that the new generation, which is the most important generation that we should get, we should try to encourage them, and they're already quite willing to think about the world in the next 20 years, 30 years. These people are the generation that care the most about sustainability of the planet, because they are the one who will suffer the consequence to firsthand. So to get to their heart, what do we need to do? What kind of food do we need to bring in onto the table? They definitely do not eat the same kind of food with the same frequencies that the previous generations have been eating anymore. Like spicy food is disappearing from Thailand. The consumption of rice is going way down. The consumption of bakeries, drinks, and more like comfort food that are quick chain restaurants, those things are dominating the market right now. So I think in a way we almost have to work with them, collaborate, maybe have some incentives so that the chain restaurants will accept this and make it really easy for the younger generations to get to it. I think it's the way.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any more comment or more opinion to share with how might we co-create alternative protein sustainable? Actually, there's some people typing on, but I have some problem with accessing to that note. Okay. Is that for new source of protein? Should it be really new finding plants, or we can try to use an ordinary plants that we already know, but never use as a new source of protein? And how long we can introduce a new source until the consumer can accept these new sources? I think this is quite similar to what Dr. Fu said. Yeah, so it's just like maybe how can we co-create sustainable alternative proteins? Maybe we have to tackle the first is how can we create consumer that accept the alternative proteins. Is that right? Okay. Is there anybody would like to share about this? Is there any other angle from creating some more consumer? Is there any ways that we can do to help create alternative proteins momentum in our countries or in our region? Let's see, is there anybody? I actually cannot see. Is there anybody giving their hand? My fancy, can you see any? Is there anybody would like to share about this? Okay. So it's more about the consumer then, because as Dr. Fu said, when we have consumer, then we will get more producer.
Right, definitely. And then we can go and try to make it easier for the producers to produce. But if we don't have the consumers, then definitely it will be hard. No one will want to produce, because the turnover, the turnaround has to be very, very quick for food. And so our approach right now is to produce it and try to export. I think if we overcome the barrier to think that maybe the consumers inside the country are not super ready, and but we always follow the trend, like the kale trend. All of a
Yeah.
sudden we eat kale, all of a sudden we eat acai berry, which
Yeah,
has
yeah,
never
exactly.
existed
Yeah,
in our
exactly.
country before, and we accept it very easily, readily. Thai people, we're very conscious about food, but we are not going to excited about something that come out of our country firsthand. So I think one way to do it, which is the way that we are trying to do as well, is to produce it and then to go and claim it in other markets first. If you can sell in the US, if you can sell in Japan, in Australia, and people are, really excited about them, then maybe we'll come back and follow the trend. Even the Impossible burgers, those kind of alternative proteins, we basically follow the footsteps of the West. So that's another way of doing it. And it actually works out almost perfectly because those countries actually give us the credits. Looking from the outside, I mean, I discussed with several people and companies from outside the countries, and they actually give Thailand, especially, a lot of credits in terms of good high quality food producer. So if we can do that, and maybe I think this is one thing that we can definitely try to work together as a concerted collaborative effort to basically just establish ourselves as a hub of producing these types of alternative proteins and for exports. So and with the Asian flares, I think it's not a bad thing. Thai food has already been known as very good food for other countries. So in a way, I think people are right now. Actually, the whole alternative meat market is going down, even in the U.S. I think people are just tired of having the same sort of burgers. So if we come around and say, hey, we can do a lot more things with it, then I think, and I have sort of like crazy ideas that we really do have to go to the key opinion leaders. So we do have to work with chefs. That's what we're trying to do, work with Michelin star chefs.
Yeah.
And there are right now a lot of Michelin star chefs that are converting to become vegan chefs. And those people, when they appear on Food Network, on these like cooking shows like Master Chefs, Iron Chefs, then more people are willing to jump in.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, actually. I mean, it sounds funny that you have to start from exporting first, but actually that's the truth. Because if it like goes bigger in foreign country, particularly in Europe, then Thai will import it back, and then it become a trend. But this is the truth. Is there anybody would like to share about this? How might we co-create sustainable alternative proteins in Asia Pacific? Yeah. How about, okay, maybe if you are shy, you dare not, or you wouldn't like to speak, please type in. We will collect all the typing. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Maybe I would
We'll
like
keep
to ask
talking, and then if you
Yeah.
feel like you want to type
I
in,
mean,
then type
otherwise
in.
we
or
have
if
to
you
talk
want-
and just throw
Yes.
the questions. Yeah, you can throw the questions because
Yeah. So I think this, maybe I'll ask you back, Bupa, what would it take for you to eat one meal of plant-based a week?
Actually, I don't. To tell you the truth, no. I can share that because my lifestyle just like being with I am in a very small family, like 3 people. So nowadays it's more convenient to buy food in rather than cooking. Then I mean, alternative proteins, plant-based protein, I mean, I hardly look at it, I mean, to confess to you, because first of all, my nephew, he's a meat eater. And I don't think he would like to try something new. He's just 20-ish. And he just love to have like salmon, chicken, and he can eat things like only chicken and salmon. He's not the type to try new things. I think this is a barrier, you know. As you said that you can penetrate this product, this new plant alternative proteins to new age people. And I found that some of them, they just don't like to try the new things. They just eat something, at the same every meal. They don't care. Okay, as long as it's salmon, as long as it is chicken, it's not beef, it's not pork that they don't like. They are fine. I don't know whether anybody have the same. I wouldn't say a problem, but the same things as I find in my family. You can share. Is there anybody try plant-based or new source of protein, which is not meat, you would like to share? Please raise your hand or share with us.
Someone said in the chat box that we should introduce new sources to school meal. That's another way because Oh, personally, my kids don't eat anything at school at all. but I think this is a great idea. My kid is an exception.
That's great. Yeah. But as you said, maybe you have to introduce that in the way that they don't know that this is the new source of protein.
Yes. Yeah, if you put wolfia in like หมูก้อนทอด, or like some sort of fried, meal, then they don't know it and then they would eat it.
Somebody said about the price. That is very interesting. Do you think alternative proteins is more expensive than just classic protein? Yeah, everything, nothing. Yes. Why so? Because I think it just come back to the first question that Dr. Fu already said, because there are quite not a lot of people accept these alternative proteins, and that's why the production is still limited, and there is not very competitive, and that's why the price is a bit high. I don't know. I think this is just a market mechanisms. And maybe I ask, do you think in Thailand or maybe in ASEAN there is a good ecosystem, for example, for R&D, for investing, or to encourage the alternative protein production? Don't you think we have good ecosystem? We have enough people, we have enough researchers, we have enough science and technology to just give you a lot of healthy diet information, that this is a very healthy diet, because of course healthy diet, healthy lifestyle is coming for sure. I think this is the trend. And when they said, okay, trend said people are more concerned about their life, their health, and their diet, it means that if there is another alternative proteins that maybe you can eat just less but give the same amount of protein, essential proteins, and you don't get fat on that, a lot of people might be interested. But my question is there enough ecosystem to encourage people, to encourage some scientists or some people who has this knowledge to further their production of alternative protein in Thailand, or maybe particularly in Southeast Asia or in APEC countries? Is there anybody who would like to share with us? I don't know, maybe Dr. Atikon also, he is a facilitator. I must use him because he is a researcher. Could you please share with us about maybe R&D side? I think this is what you are.
Okay.
Thank you very much indeed.
Okay, can you hear me? Yes, okay. Thinking about Thailand to be a good place for the research, I think we have a good research facility to do the new protein research, but we have like many problem with some kind of facility. When we're talking about the new source of protein, we're talking about the protein that have to be purified. We're not talking about eating beans, eating palm directly. I mean, oh yeah, directly. So when you need to produce a purified protein, that is quite a challenge and difficult. In Thailand, now we don't have the facility to produce the protein purification commercially. So actually, some company want to invest on this one. And maybe you will see in the next year or the next 2 years, some company try to invest on the protein purification plan. And also, actually, Thailand, we produce a lot of rice, but that you get some protein from rice, but not much. When depend on its kind of limited application, because the protein from rice is actually you cannot use in some application. But when we're talking about the soybean protein in Thailand, actually we import most of the soybean from Brazil or USA, that main majority for oil production, not for the protein. That's why the protein from the soy that we import for oil production actually go to the feed application. So that is cheap quality. So in the future, and I think the company try to adapt on this approach, and they see opportunity to produce food grade protein powder in the future. And okay, when we're talking about the new sauce, that the soybean maybe the old sauce, but for the new sauce like the green bean or Tokyo in Thailand is kind of new in Thailand. We eat green bean all the time. I mean, for Thai people, but when we're talking about the green bean, or the mung bean protein, that actually in Thailand haven't passed the FDA yet. So in this case, if we I mean, the Thai government and FDA have to adapt on and try to get more active on the approval of the new source of protein. And actually, we have so many projects like Pudao in carb, I don't know, and some source of protein has some origin, and but it's very good source for the protein, and that the safety is an issue in the for the new source of protein from the bean on the seeds. Okay, for the production in Thailand, so I think we need the Thai government to do a lot of work on the plant breeding to improve the crop production yield for the clean bean itself, or maybe in the future soybean, that we need to improve the production yield in the future. That so the price is the most important thing that most company that need to invest on the production plan. If the price that you cannot compete with the China, that okay, nobody gonna invest this facility in Thailand. Okay.
Invest in production.
Any question?
Yeah.
So new source is like novel food. So usually novel food take 2 or 3 years to get approval.
So I think one of ecosystem that we have to talk about very, very, how to say, is the regulation. Everybody says about a regulation, because at the end of the day, we sell food and we buy food, and the safety is the first concern for any regulation. Is that right? So the regulation in Thailand. So I think Dr. Fu already sold her products, and you already passed these difficulties in how to say, in a registration of your food. Is that right, Dr. Fu?
Actually, we had an easy way out because we're still selling it as vegetables and not as protein.
Okay, I
So
see
we
what you
don't
mean.
need actually as a fresh vegetable, you don't need oil at all. You don't need FDA
Mhm.
approval. For powder, we already got oil approval for that. But if we were to extract the protein from this and sell it, yes, we would have to go through the hoops. And I do have to agree with the article on that. It's extremely I wouldn't say extremely. It is difficult, especially when the regulation doesn't keep up with the products that are trying to come out. And on the other hand, we do experience this barrier in other countries. Like Europe has not allowed the Wufia to be sold because it's still they're still fighting for the novel food registration in Europe. In in the US, I think there's another company that already worked out and get duckweed, including Wufia, to be on the GRAS list of exemption. Basically, they don't need to further verify whether it's a novel food because it has been consumed in Thailand for generations. And in EU, they're trying to use that too. And we can have a whole section talking about this. So in Thailand, I don't expect it to be easy. I don't think we have enough people working on it. Even in the, I mean, and even if we're working on it, we are working on it in a way that we are trying to follow what other people already done, rather than trying to make it our own. And seriously, I mean, I question these efforts all the time because for something like Wufia, you don't need to actually extract the proteins out. The protein is already there, it's already good. The reason why we extract protein from soybean is because if you don't extract it, it comes with a lot of carbohydrate and fat. So if you don't extract out the protein, by the time you get enough protein, you get too fat, basically. But with something like Wufia, and I'm talking about fungi and mushroom and algae as well, usually the carb isn't so high, the fat isn't too high already. So we still should talk about which direction we want to go, and we don't have to go all in the single directions, but instead of trying to all push toward like purifying and extracting the proteins out of these noble sources, maybe we should look into how we should use these sources in a more creative way so that we get enough protein. We want to get enough protein in the form that is as close to nature as possible. And in the US, they don't really have they do want to extract, basically, again, because they're using soybean as the leading industry. But we don't need to do that. A lot of people also prefer whole foods. And if we think about it, Thailand has been almost on a plant-based diet from, the 2 generations ago. We eat more vegetables. We eat very little meat. We make sauces from whatever protein source we could find, like plara, pu dong, whatever, those kind of like fermented food of very little proteins that we could get, like gung hang, gung phoi. We used to consume. Thai food is actually based on a low protein diet. And by low, I don't mean that we don't get enough. Okay. There's also that trend that we really need to get a lot more protein. And I think in a way, maybe we don't need to. So we really have to come back and really think about this mindfully, like what are we trying to do? Because definitely extracting is more expensive. It requires heavy machineries. It is, sorry. Even though it's extracted from plants, by the time you extract it, you're stripping away many of the goodness of the plants already as well. It's high in sodium usually. So we also have to be careful about these little details. And I'm saying it to the conscious and educated groups of people here. I think and if people in general hear about some of these things, like some of the chemicals that go into the extraction and the leftover salt and whatnot, it can only hurt the industry. So I think in a way we have to have a way of balancing, how much protein we actually need, how much proteins need to be extracted from its original sources, and how much contaminants or other impurities that come along with the extraction process. I think I personally, come from the background that we encourage diversity too. So I have to sell my products, but I don't encourage you to only eat buffet, for example, because a well-balanced diet would beat a protein-heavy diet any day, I would think, in terms of, health, in terms of price, in terms of, sustainability, I think. So that's another issue. But we want to focus on how we want to create this ecosystem and this movement. I do think that we should encourage more people to come and work on this. We need more researchers. We need new angles. We need more collaborative efforts. Many people in the universities can be encouraged to work on this, many more people, and don't just focus on the food sector, like people in food science. I think those people are well aware, but people who are in, for example, like ag business, people who are working in engineering, they're not really involved yet. People who are working in machine learning, AI, those people can also participate, even like physics or maths. There have to be many more angles, many more people looking from different angles in order for this to be successful. Because I think like the first few companies who create the plant-based alternative that look and taste like real meat, they actually employ tons of scientists and engineers in order to get it to work. They put in a lot of technologies. So we really have to sort of have that kind of level of intensity in terms of research and development, even way before we want to develop food products.
Thank you so much. I mean, there is some comment saying that to make this co-create, maybe it's very important to make the food taste good and just simple, delicious. And if food is delicious, it's no matter. People would like to try it. And if the price is affordable or is reasonable, people will buy it. Maybe this is another important thing that we have to take into account when we develop alternative proteins. I think we have to move on to the second. Honestly, I listened to this. I found this is quite difficult to get like alternative proteins. How to say it, to promote alternative proteins for the time being, maybe, but maybe after everything, just after it becomes a trend, it will be like boom. Every people will just, oh, I would like to buy that. I would like to buy this because it becomes a trend. But anyway, we move on to our second question, which we draw from the first question. What works? What doesn't work? In this, I think in this one, after we have maybe we have to show the summary of our first. Okay. Can you get it a bit bigger, please? Sorry. Maybe I think the most important that from our former discussion is to get consumer to acceptable consumer to accept the alternative proteins. And okay. And to make, and as it is, as we are talking about the ecosystem, the regulatory, I think I think it becomes difficulty in every country, particularly in Thailand, when if it is very new, it might take more time for our FDA to approve, or even if you can make it like that Dr. Food do, you just to sell it as it is, and that they don't need FDA, that might be a bit more quicker to get into the market. Okay, let's see how might we co-create. Okay, it's first is to create market mechanisms, and then for example, and to build some more infrastructure facility. For example, like Dr. Fook said, to have more collaborative, to have more researchers, to have more people in different angles, in different field of science or technology, to integrate them together and to create this, because there will be, the more you different angle can integrate, you get some more other like angles that might be hit to the market. And of course the regulatory, because we are talking about something new. When it's new, it means that it's never existed before, so it might take time, and in different regions, in different countries, they interpret their news, interpret their regulation, their enforced regulation differently. So that might be things that we have to tackle. So 3 groups: market, facilities, and regulatory. What works, what doesn't work? What works? What does it mean what works? Can Ms. Kunwarang clarify this? What works, what doesn't work? Yeah, what doesn't work? Then we can move on to our discussion. Now we get market mechanism, facility, regulatory. Okay, what works and what not works? Ms. Kunwarang, can you give more clarification on this what works and what not works?ค่ะ
When you from the what might be will clarify and more explain which one is the work strategy, which one is not. Like when you say we have to create the market, you say that maybe we create a new menu, maybe we introduce the alternative protein to the school meal, something like that. Yeah, we have. Could you please explain which one is the most effective way to create the market of alternative protein? Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Or the regulation, yeah, how to say,
How to make this regulation? How can we get things that has to be regulated fast, right? Maybe we start from markets. So as Dr. Fu said, that we have to create consumer, we have to create markets, otherwise there wouldn't be anybody to produce this. And my question is, how can we make consumer or customer accept or willing to pay for these alternative proteins?
It seems like we focus in the market mechanism, but we didn't see in the R&D mechanism or how to collaborate the collaboration in the region to create the new source of protein.
How we can create a new source of
Yes.
protein market?
Yes.
How can we create new source of protein market? How can we? How can we create? Anybody would like to share? How can we create new source of protein market? It has to start from
Good afternoon.
Anybody would like to say? I heard somebody saying, how can we create?
Hi, this is from Overview Climate Foundation. Can you hear
Yeah.
me well?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, sorry, my signal, I don't know if it's a problem for my signal or not, but hi, I would just like to share my opinion and my experience. We are working on algae development in Thailand together with Department of Fisheries. And witness
Excuse me. I think I lost you. Ploy worldwide climate. I think I lost you. Can you hear me?
what is
World
really
climate. Yeah. I mean, can you start it again, please? Because we lost you.
foundation.
The signal is just like come and goes, comes and go. It's just like it's not stable.
Yeah, let me change
Yeah, please.
internet. So
We would love to hear from you.
give me a second.
Thank you.
Incentive.
While we are waiting for Ploy worldwide world real climate, I was wondering, do we have enough incentives to create these alternative proteins in, say, in Thailand? Any incentives available in the ecosystem? This is just my wondering. Maybe what kind of incentives we are looking for? Maybe seed money, granting.
Okay, since no, oh, Khun Ploy is back.
Kun Ploy
Please,
is back.
go ahead.
Yes.
Okay, can you hear me well now?
Yeah, I can hear you well. Thank you very much.
Okay, sorry. So I just want to share our experience on algae development in Thailand. So we have with one of the obstacles we witnesses about developing seaweed market is the acknowledge of consumers on the standard. Like for example, Thailand does have seaweed standard, but
Mhm.
the consumers don't really know about it, and also it's not mandatory. So that's why not all the seaweed farmers are registered or try to register to the standard. That's the problem because I see that as a problem
Mhm.
because standard is important to building trust. And sometimes when the news come out on if you some people find insect in the seaweed, which is not harmful, but it still affect negatively to the product itself.
Mhm.
So I think if the government or authorities or private sectors can promote standard, that will help. That's not only for Thailand. I think it will be very interesting to promote the global standard. Also, maybe have a new Asia standard for alternative food sources. And we can like I don't know if we can do like our Asian food standards for alternative food and focus on that together, cooperatively make this like region standard. I think that will create another Asian market. This is
Okay.
personal thoughts. So thank
Okay.
you.
Oh, thank you very much. I think this make a point because when you sell things, particularly anywhere in the world, if your product meets standard, it means that okay, these are trusted because you achieve the standard. Yeah. Kun Ploy, I mean, can you please elaborate more about the problem you encounter with? Because you said you have some problem with this.
Actually, it's not my personal issue that I'm facing, but I did some field work, and the local government mentioned that when how to say that, for example, some of the farms who don't have this standard and the product is not meeting this standard, they are selling with a lower price,
Oh,
which
see.
will badly negatively affect the ones who have standards.
I see what you mean now.
And you know, and people with standards will, like, they won't be able to sell the product, and the customer who don't know about the standard, they will purchase the one without standard, and the one with standard won't be able to sell. And when the customer find the product itself not clean or not really good, that will affect the whole market of the product.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yes, I may I add that I totally agree with what Kun Ploy said,
Yeah.
which is exactly what we are experiencing as well. There's no standard for wolfia for sure, and I think in Thailand, I think many people would agree, any company that is trying to do something that's similar to what we're doing would face this problem. So the ecosystem right now is you have to compete with both sides, basically. One side is the local farmers who do not know enough about the standard, or the standards don't exist. And whenever we come out and say, oh, Wolfia is great in this way and that way, then they would want to join in, basically. So we have to compete with them because in a way their cost is a lot lower, since a lot of them are still harvesting from the natural resource, and they just need to clean a few times, and consumers cannot tell the difference, basically. And with food, it takes a lot before you experience why certain food is not good. And since we don't eat just one food, it's hard to pinpoint where the contaminants or other things are coming from. So on one side, we are competing with people who do not really value themselves, so their labor cost is a lot lower. Their standards don't really you cannot really guarantee the standard or anything, but they can sell for sure, and consumers don't know the difference. On the other hand, we are competing with big companies. In this country, we have a lot of gigantic mega companies that are producing food, and so if you're producing something, you very quickly would run into having to deal with these companies. They either want to come and support you, and I'm not saying this in a really bad way, but when you're a really small company, it's difficult to position yourself. How are you going to work with gigantic companies and making sure that you can still become yourself and not being a part of a much larger company? How are you going to make sure there's a tech barrier enough? So, everyone asks, if a really big company would invest, billions of dollars, wouldn't they be able to do this as well? And it's always a difficult question that we have to face daily. I mean, I don't think anybody in their right mind would say, oh, no way that other companies would be able to do this. It's a good thing that there will be a competition, but when you're competing or working with big companies, it's not easy. So if I were to talk about the ecosystem, I think the regulatory isn't as bad. I think the the thing that's much more difficult is the market. The market being dominated by giants on one side, and the market being dominated by locals with lower standards on the other side. So I totally agree with Ploy that if we don't have somehow the national standards for these products, then it's not easy. That's why I say it's almost easier for us to produce things and sell it outside the country, because in order to sell or to export your products, there are standards. The accepting countries will impose their standards on you. So then we would be able to sell because we are following their guidelines and their standards. Yeah, and then when we turn back in our market, that's not really in the same level as in some other countries. So yeah, what does not work is the market and the market drivers right now that is extremely challenging for food, because people are definitely competing for lower and lower price, but our lower food price actually put a lot of pressure on the local farmers, because when big companies do things, they have the scale, definitely. So the smaller companies actually almost have no chance. So this is a tough nut to crack, though.
Yeah.
because we're dealing with people with big companies. Also, on the other hand, are the companies that are driving the growth, and they employ hundreds of thousands of people. But in a way, if the government would support smaller companies, especially more of people who are doing these things, and in other economies, we see more of like VCs that are investing in more impact funding. So companies that are trying to do good things for the societies should not have to rely on the profit of just selling their products. They should get some incentives for doing good things as well. Because if the societies don't pay for this, if the government doesn't give enough incentives to do this, it's extremely difficult for these companies to flourish and establish for a very long time. And yeah, I think another thing is that these companies should also have a place to basically register and be together. Right now, I think the government gives certain incentives, like the BOI incentives, the tax break, some incubation, some seeding money, like matching through NIA to, even NASDAQ gives some have some programs to give as well. But I don't think it's enough. I don't think it's put together as a platform so people can easily see and navigate. Right now, it's more like, oh, NASDAQ wants to do this, and it wants to do another program, and some other companies want to have their own incubators, for example. So for people who have never done it, and these are the people we want to encourage, people who have the technology, have the knowledge to do this, they have to navigate through like who they should talk to first and second, and it's much harder. I think some other agencies like Food Innopolis has done a great job, and there are a few other places that I probably cannot name them all, but they are they're not connected somehow. So the smaller companies have to navigate their ways through this fortress, I would say. So yes, definitely more encouragement is needed, especially for this area. I mean, if you compare this to fintech, or the fintech it's a lot easier because bigger companies, they're not really in direct competition with. Bigger companies cannot really come up with the tech fast enough to catch up with the smaller startups. Whereas in food, the barrier is a lot smaller. The investment money in food tech is much larger than in fintech or ed tech. So for a startup in food tech to be able to survive even the first round, it needs a lot more funding, and we experienced this firsthand, because the funding, the VC funding or CVC funding that people are talking about in this country is mostly apt for really fast growing fintech, smaller startups that are in the rapidly evolving tech, like apps and those applications like AI, machine learning, which doesn't have like a comparable size of CapEx that you need to put in compared to the food industry. So people who are doing well right now are people who basically have to push their own funding into this, and a lot of backgrounds in the industry. I think they have much better chance of succeeding.
Yeah, I understand. Comparing like software, fintech, and software industry to the deep tech, like food industry or other engineer, the amount of money, the source of funding is much less. Although in deep tech, we need a lot more, not just only money, but more time. Because when they invest in you, they give you maybe 6 months and they would like to see some answer or some product that is marketable, that makes profit, which is nearly impossible for deep tech. Yeah, I understand that. And that's still our
Right.
ecosystem, innovation ecosystem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have to look at this industry as different from those, even
Yeah.
impossible. These companies usually incubate for, I would say, like 7 to almost 10 years before they come up with
Exactly.
solid
In
tech. And if we are not
biotechnology.
willing, if we're not willing to dip into the research and development area, then the tech isn't that deep. When the tech isn't that deep, it's easier for other people to do what you're doing. But if we're talking about the regional scale, though, I think there are some other things, since we're talking about what works and what not. I mean, some other countries are very good at attracting talents and maybe better funding scheme. And I think we should work together. We should learn from them how they attract more companies to do this. Definitely having peers is good. I mean, I personally get asked all the time by incubators from outside the country, and it is very attractive, I have to say, to go and pitch and get invested by money from outside the country, which is possible. So if we broaden our horizon a little, and think that it's okay to do that, and we bring our expertise, we bring our credits coming from the country that produces a lot of good food, then we may have a better chance. What I'm saying is it's common now for startups elsewhere in the world to have founders even coming from different countries, or money coming in from different sources. So if we ourselves, if Thailand cannot really get the system together fast enough, we should broaden our horizon and work with our neighbors. I think that's what APEC is all about, right? We should collaborate more. We should look more into like a broader scheme of how we together can do this and what we can do better, and what we're still lacking, and we sort of learn from each other and help pushing the region forward. I think that should be the aim. So another thing which should be mentioned is the IP protections, since we already talking about tech. This is another point that maybe, I mean, we definitely don't come off as a country with strong background in IP protection. I think very, very limited circle of people are really understand this, and most people are excited by just getting petty patents basically for what we're doing, and that's certainly not enough if we're going to do something at the global stage. So I think there has to be a lot more investment in terms of IP help, especially for smaller companies, because it's extremely hard for us to get funding already, and then all the investors are asking, what IPs do you have? When are you planning to
Yeah.
IP this? And IPing is extremely expensive. Paying the lawyer is expensive. Going out there, you have to have really good lawyers to write really good IPs. Otherwise, it's all wasted, and you just reveal your secret. So we sort of have to resort to trade secrets and more of the smaller petty patents, which should not be the scale that we are doing if we are looking more at the global stage. So the government really need to push some help in these directions.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. I was wondering, can you get, from your point of view, now it's easier to get like funding abroad, like from when you pitching, for example, to get some more VC from abroad. Is that what you mean? To get, funding or to get some funding from abroad. I mean,
I mean, it's hard to use personal opinion on this because we talk to only limited number of people,
Okay.
VCs, CVC. But I would say there are definitely we see attempts from other countries coming in, and that
Okay.
is very visible. If I were to name a few, like Japan has its own JETRO office right here in
All right,
Thailand.
I
They
see.
try to contact, they send you programs, ask you to go and pitch in the Japan setting all the time. And when you go pitch for them, you think about how you're gonna sell or expand in their country, which is very helpful. And they're
Yeah.
very willing to help connecting you with business partners over there or answer questions about regulations and things like that. Definitely they are trying very hard. I see Hong Kong is doing a lot of this as well, and Singapore, So some of these efforts definitely are there, although we haven't gotten investment from outside the countries. But the incubator programs that take equities are functioning, and
Yeah.
I think they're doing a lot more in other countries. So I think it works, although we didn't personally go that route because we got our funding from angel investors. And right now, the trend that I'm seeing is in terms of impact investment in our country, I don't see a lot of VCs doing that yet, but I think the angels are very, very interested in this, although they are also still quite new as well. I think there are a lot of people who are willing to learn. So hopefully we'll go through this period and with stronger, bigger, better groups of angels that will be interested in putting more money into this field. I think for Thai people, angels are a really good ways to go. CVC a lot of companies are interested as well, although I think because a lot of these corporates are really big, you have to navigate. And for smaller startups, if we don't have really strong foundation in like corporate laws, how to divide equities and calculate everything. When you deal with the CVC, it's much harder. That's my take on this. So definitely in terms of funding scheme and scale, will be a problem for startups in this arena.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Is there anybody would like to share more? Any comments or any writing in the chatting?
Should we set like a consortium of small scale company of new source of alternative protein?
Should we get some?
Yeah.
Don't you think it's possible to form a consortium for like alternative proteins? For example, like consortium from not just only in Thailand, but from maybe a different region, maybe APEC region. Is that possible to form that kind of consortium? So everybody can help because you aim at the same thing, that you would like to to create some alternative proteins to sell it.
setting
So,
the standard.
Yeah, so maybe is that possible to, for example, like what Khun Ploy we've said, that you are in a field of algae and seaweed, and then if there is a consortium for seaweed or algae alternative proteins for that, and we form a consortium and try to make the same standard, a standard that everybody can get into, can do that, can follow that, and then every product, every companies within that can achieve that standard, and then it means that the consumer will, because the consumer, they just buy things that they are satisfied with, either the taste or the price, or if it tastes nice and price low, then that's fine. But if it tastes nice and then the price is higher, it depends on people to decide whether you would like to pay more for this quality product, or maybe just pay less, and you, in your opinion, the product is just the same, similar. Maybe, I mean, don't you think the consortium forming would be possible?
Yeah, personally, I think it's not only possible, it should be, it has to be, because again, if we are fighting with big corporates in selling food products and we don't get together and try to do something together, we can, I think we discussed this with Kun Santi a lot, that there has to be a network or some sort of consortium that link all of us together, and maybe we almost go under the same umbrella. For example, if we can have a quality mark somehow, this is like verified alternative protein that is done with, it's fair trade, it has a high quality, it has a property that it's claiming, all these sustainability angles put to it, and have some sort of marks that we put on all the products, and then these products together would be able to penetrate markets like in the EU or in Australia or in the US much easily, much more easily than if we're doing it alone.
Yeah.
So in terms of products, qualification, in terms of penetrating the regulatory, and even in terms of like exporting, because smaller companies, we don't produce, tons and tons. So in order to fill like containers, huge containers with this, is already hard. And then the distribution in other countries as well. If we have to navigate through this ourselves, it's a lot harder. So a consortium can do this, and it could be a consortium at our country level or at the ASEAN level. It should be, and I can tell you that having peers to talk to, discuss with about problems, difficulties, even people who come from like insect protein industry, from algae, from cultured meat, we all have similar problems and similar goals. So knowing other companies personally actually make a big difference. I mean, we went to a conference in Germany, and we meet with all the duckweed companies in the world. And we all have our angles, so and the market is huge, so we don't really look at our each other as direct competitors at all. We together, we think, let's do this, let's bring duckweed protein to the world. So that's the kind of thing that I think should happen. And also, food is something people have to experience. If we have a consortium, alternative protein in ASEAN, for example, we have a big academic conference yearly. We invite everyone from all over the world to come and see us. We invite chefs to come and chop our products. If it's a big event like that we don't have to invest ourselves, then it's much more likely that this will happen, rather than us having to send our problem to the US and then to EU, and then another company having to do the same thing. We invite them to come and get all the companies together here to showcase our products. Like even we have like Typhex and those things, it works. So we should just have like the alternative proteins, all these companies come and feature the products. I think in a way, we already have that, but it's not at the forefront. Nobody is advertising it the way that, you know, the general public would know this, or the way that the global stage would turn on us and say, you know, look, this is the event to be if you want to look at protein alternative in Asia, in, you know, ASEAN. So if I think we're doing a few things right. We just need more mass, more people to do this. And in order to get people to do that, we need two things. One, the market has to be excited. Two, we have to have a lot of help facilitating, make it easy to do this. So I really encourage everyone in this room, if you can, you know, have your own company come or support. I think it's fun when you have a startup to root for. So and with the food, it's easy. Every meal we eat, it's our vote. Which way we want to go. If we want more sustainability, eat more sustainable food. If we want more fair trade, better high quality food, then eat better food. If we always have to rely on cheaper food all the time, it's not going to happen. So yeah, but I think together, this region is already the center of good food. People want to come here. People already come here to travel. People already want to be here for conferences, eat our food. So academic conference definitely will put ourselves on the world stage. That's one way. And we have a lot of good researchers who can pump out papers in this direction, that will establish basically the force that the world can see. And then in the trade industry, the shows, if we can together do this somehow, invite them over. And then definitely once in a while, we should go out there and experience what the market is like in other countries. And if we do that together, it will also help. Yeah, I mean, at one point, we were thinking of having an event with maybe like embassies in the EU. The Thai embassy in the EU can host events like this, like invite a few companies over. We can actually finance our own travel. We just need an opportunity, and they can invite chefs. For example, in Europe, there are a lot of Michelin star chefs. Those people, they know about us, but now they're asking like, how can we taste your food? Because, you know, by the time we send it over there, it would be sort of not the same anymore. But if we can go and do more of this
Fresh cooking,
event
fresh
over
for
there,
them.
yeah, cook it for them or ask them to come and experience it with us. We can do this at a regional level at our target market, then it would actually help a lot.
Thank you. I was wondering, in this room, is there any insect protein? Because this is another popular source, I think. I mean, nowadays I heard a lot of insect proteins. I heard a lot of people try it, and it becomes a bit more popular. Is there anybody doing on insect protein would like to share about your opinion? No? No. Okay. Okay. I think we get the every questions done. What works, what not, what's most important. I think we already get it. Maybe we would like, I think we stop here, and I would like to sum up this, and I would like to ask my friends, do we have to share this in the room? Do we have to get back? No, it's done. Yeah, because I mean, I already say what is the most important thing that we have to do first. I think the most important thing we have to do first is just to make, firstly, to get consumer, how to say, to drive, to have the consumer drive to I wouldn't say accept, but to enjoy alternative proteins as a food and delicious one. Okay. Right. I think we get everything done. Then we have to get back to our main room. So how we can get back to the main room? Okay, I think everybody just get off this room and then we automatically back to the room.
Leave meeting. Leave meeting.
Okay, you just leave
Let us
meeting. Not yeah, just put yeah, that's the point, leave meeting or the session. You get
leave meeting or session.
okay, and then you get back to the main room automatically. Okay. Okay, we get into the main room.
กำไรนะเกี่ยวอะไรอีกคือจะการถ้าเราคิดค่าตัวถ้าคิดค่าตัวเราไม่มีคิดนะ
นอกจากว่าจะต้องคิดเกรดปลายปีแล้วได้โบนัสเยอะกว่า3 เท่า 4 เท่างานดีๆอย่าง
Hello everyone, welcome back to our main rooms. Thank you very much for your waitings. But it seems that we have to wait for a moment because there's still one break room left that haven't come back yet. Yeah, and I will let you know in few minutes from now. Okay. Thank you everyone for your waitings. It seems that everyone already came back to our main rooms. We really appreciate your active, engaging, and your kind participant for this event, especially during the workshop session. For now, I would like to re-invite Kun Santi to wrap up our workshop and overall sessions for today. คุณสันติครับ the floor is yours.
ครับ I would like thank you again for all the participants and the idea and for the NSTDA teams and Funopolis to really like have this very great and insightful. I'm actually my plan is to like go across the room to fermentation and to new source of protein, but unfortunately like there's a lot of discussion in the plant-based room, and then I kind of stuck in there, but see the ideas or through the room. I think the the facilitator doing a very great job to have like index in terms of like topic like incentives or regulation, facility and infrastructure and R&D needs, so market mechanism or consumer persuasion. So I think many of the idea that are indexing are really like in line uh, to really like give a very short and brief summarize from Kun Smith, from Dr. Ekanong Fuinopolis. We think from our like plant-based room, I think we need to have very clear guidelines of how we can work together, and to work together is to like according to APEC is to create a private and public partnership, and the advice from Dr. Ekanong is to be a private led, but in some of the area the public can also come to lead, and from the private opinion like Kun Smith and for myself, I think like many of the areas that can be put in priorities like Kun Smith mentioned from like market and consumer persuasion. So start from the market demands and really make this obvious to the consumer of this new source of sustainable protein that's already available for them to get to know the nutrition, the benefit, and also from many of the enabler that we are discussed, there are a lot of collection and summarize of the key idea of the enabler of infrastructure to help develop new texture, new format, and the format that is delight and really like close to consumer. From the regulatory harmonization, I see in many of the room from new source of protein, fermentation, and plant-based infrastructure to comply to the international regulatory and to help the startup and new source of protein fermentation to scaling up. Perhaps like from the fermentation is would be very pretty much obvious to have like intermediary and midstream like CDMO to be more scaling up and to be more regenerative and green energy to creating this, and a lot of the idea that I think it would take a lot of time for us to really like go through. So I will try to also keep working with the NSTDA team and also keep the summarize to all of you afterwards, but to not further take much of your time because you have spent a lot of time with us today. I think we have another distinguished guests that are with us today that will give us some of the idea and the speech. Kun Saranyu ครับ is it the doctor
Dr. Yuki, right?
yes yes
Okay, let me see. I'm not sure that he is still or he's already left our session. Let me check a moment.
all right
Dr. Shukit has another conference, so Yeah, he already left.
Ah, okay. Then perhaps we can just wrap up everything and just come to the end of the sessions.
ครับ
Is there anything or anyone would like to add something or discuss a bit further? We still have some time before we close the session.
Yes, we still here with how many participants now? Still
We have
like
78 person with us right now. That's quite a lot.
Yes. So if anyone you is sparking any of your idea or you want to really like give us the idea at the end of this webinar workshop, please feel free to do so ครับ
Well, I think there is no one would like to give the closing remarks for us already. And shall we continue to close the session? Or is there anyone would like to give us something? Any suggestions or ideas? Rooms and share information about how the FDA is just.
Okay, so I think on the behalf of the like the NSTDA, Foodnopolis, and Biotech, and I'm for me I'm very have privileged to here be with you today and to really like learn and get many insight and many of the idea confirm and validate that how we can really like push this the development of the sustainable source of alternative protein forward together, and this idea on the different room is kind of confirm of what we can really summarize and create a dialogue for this APEC 2022 meetings. So again, thank you very much for having me here, and thank you very much for all the idea and all participants ครับ
Yokai accepted to be our moderator of today's. On behalf of NASDAQ, we would like to thank you and our speaker once again for your excellent presentation and also your kind contribution to share all useful information. And thank you very much for your interest and active participation. We look forward to seeing you once again in the next and our upcoming event in October, which is APEC Tech Summit. Yes, and it's been a pleasure to host this event. I look forward to seeing you soon. Is there anything you would like to add further? Please do not hesitate. We still have few minutes left before we go and leave the session. And yeah, please be informed that all participants will be able to download our presentation material as well as the video clips during this session after this event approximately at night, and tomorrow you will be able to download the video recording the breakout room session. So please not hesitate to learn more if you want to have a look on our video recording. And furthermore, before you leave, I would like to invite you to do some survey. Actually, it's just questionnaire, take a few minutes to help us develop our sessions in the future. And if you would like to access to our topic of discussion during the breakout room, you can also be able to have a look at it. We will share it under Google Drive, and you'll be able to access it directly. Thank you ครับ and คุณสันติครับ I'm not sure if you would like to go through the topic anything, or we just close the event.
Yes, yeah, thank you very much, Kap, for wrap this up. I just received the message in the comment box
Please.
that
Please.
Dr. Yukip also seeking to collaborate with Thai researcher as well as private sector who interest in apply growth factors feeding system to cost down the production costs. And also he has, I think he has shared and shed light on the perspective of how to have this fermentation validate with the Japanese FDA approved culture meat product. So it's very useful information that he share and think, and a lot of useful information from different room as well. For me again to share with all of you today, I think it's just the kind of the initiative and the journey for all of us to really work together on this sustainable alternative protein journey together. And I think the NSGDA team will have this upload and publish for you in the summarize and the detail afterward. And we hope to get your participation again at the next event that will come afterward. Thank you very much again.
ขอบคุณมากครับ
ขอบคุณครับ